Secret 47, special sound effects. The sound effects included in this secret are quarter tones, multiphonics, slap tongue, flutter tongue, teeth on reed, vocal sounds, growling, lip buzz, whistling, and a few other tricks. Quarter tones. Quarter tones are used in various world music, and they are used in avant-garde music. On a clarinet, you play those by modifying fingerings, or by doing half-hole fingerings, or by loosening your embouchure. I will give you a few examples. The notation varies for quarter tones depending on which composer wrote the piece. Multiphonics. Multiphonics are various chords that you can play two ways on the clarinet. First, various fingerings. For example, for this particular fingering, I used a low C with a left G sharp key and a low E key. However, this fingering could change depending on what you do with your throat, the opening of your throat and the speed of your air. Another way to do multiphonics is to actually break the sound with the dropping of the jaw. Here's an example. Slap tongue is used in avant-garde music and also in jazz. There are two ways to do slap tongue. First, you take air in your mouth and you compress it with your tongue and your cheeks, like so. And you release the air and you throw it in the mouthpiece. The second way to do slap tongue is to actually use your tongue and put it on the reed and do some pressure with your air and suddenly remove the tongue. Here's an example. Flutter tongue is with your tongue. This is used in avant-garde and all kinds of musics too, klezmer, jazz. And this is done with rolling the tongue. And what you don't want to do is touch the reed while you roll the tongue in your mouth, because this will stop the vibration of the reed. So you try to back up your tongue a little bit and use your air to roll your tongue. A good way to start a flutter tongue on the clarinet is to actually think of H-R-R, as opposed to T-R-R, trr. That might slow down your air speed. Teeth on reed, this is a technique that you see in avant-garde music to play extremely high notes. Here's an example. Now, obviously, this is played by putting your teeth on your reed and with blowing. Vocal sounds are really fun to play because you can sing and play your instrument at the same time. This is a very useful technique because you will need it when you learn how to growl. Now, another fun thing you can do with vocal is to actually play a duet with yourself. Here's an example. Growling. Now this sound everybody wants to know how to do. It's very popular in jazz and pop and klezmer. As opposed to actually growling, you sing in your instrument, but because you sing a note that is dissonant with the actual note that you are playing, it sounds like a growling. Here's an example. One thing that might be difficult in the beginning is to actually sing while you're playing because you're not used to it. So what I suggest is singing in the instrument without playing. And then you do crescendo with your voice and wait for the tone to appear. Maybe with a soft reed would be a good thing to begin with. A really fun thing you might want to try when you do vocal sounds in your clarinet is to do a unison. And then you slightly go away from that unison and sing a little bit sharper, and you will see the beats of the actual pitch appearing and sounding very different as I go up with my voice. Here's an example. Lip buzzing is done by removing your barrel and your mouthpiece and doing pretty much what brass players do and buzzing your lips on the bore. You'll find this effect in several avant-garde pieces. Whistling is done as you would play the flute by blowing across the edge here on your bore, halfway out and halfway in. Here's an example. Now, with a good flexible throat and jaw movements, there's so many things that you can do with the clarinet, so I have a few tricks to show you. One is to do an ascending scale on your clarinet with the fingers. However, you will hear a descending scale, and that is done with changing the shape of your throat gradually. Here's an example. Another thing you can do is to do a scale, but without moving your fingers. And that, again, is done with varying the shape of your throat and airspeed. Here's an example. Another thing you can do is to move your fingers across the instrument, but play only one note. Here's an example. A crazy thing you can do is to do the same thing I just did. However, you play a melody while you move your fingers everywhere. You just play a separate melody. Here's the example. Now, here's a really fun trick. What you do is you test yourself, and you play any fingering, and you think of a note and see if you can do the note that you just thought about, or that you played on the piano, or that someone gave you, with the fingering that you chose. 11 times out of 12, this will work acoustically. Here's an example. So I'm going to think of the note B flat, for example. However, I'm going to play it on the B flat fingering an octave below. So you can do that on pretty much any note, and the only limit is your imagination. This was Secret 47 Special Sound Effects.